the last dungeon of Final Fantasy V, the Void. Otherwise known as the Cleft of Dimension, we will engage our final boss battles here. Let's go! For the desert portion, the walls actually push you off of them, and I benefit from this because at the start here, what I like to do is press right and let the walls handle the downwards movement for me, and this is more optimal because when you get pushed off of something, you go a little bit faster. So remember to also hold the B button while gliding across quicksand, because you also get the addition from dash speed while going through that. Just as optimized movement. And if the step road is doing fine, you will get an encounter in front of the stairs here, so you don't have to calculate turning around that corner there either. You just wait until you flee from the encounter and then press up. So the step road is a little handy in that regard. And on this pad, you take the quicksand on the left. It will allow you to keep going forward. And get another encounter here. Yep, we are doing just fine. After that pad on the quicksand, you just keep pressing right and you will end up right in front of this door and have another cutscene happen where the nerds of the void present themselves. These are the bosses we will have to massacre across our journey here. Most of them, some reward save points when you defeat them, but are optional, so we will only handle the mandatory. So this area is a boss rush of sorts. You get a ton of boss battles with no breaks in between, no cutscenes, and only one save point in the middle of the area, so you get a little bit of an adrenaline rush because you have to do so many boss battles. It's really engaging. Probably the best part of Final Fantasy V speedrunning. And the void is also divided into segments. You get different enemy domains across the dungeon. But you just want to flee from everything. There are no battles to perform on the void. We are ready to handle the bosses. I use that. Okay. For this room, we just keep going down and enter this door to refresh the danger rate. And we want to go back to kill another encounter. So we take 12 steps here. Also, if you use a Death Potion on Exodus Castle for the bridge backups, here you can grab another Dark Matter. You need one Dark Matter for Death Potion to handle Twin Tenia later on in the dungeon, so don't forget to have that on inventory. Just one will suffice. But here you can interact with the chains to go up and down at your leisure. You want to take the left chain on this spot so that we can cross the door and advance. And here we have some complex step management, so bear with me. There's a lot to do here. First, we need 12 steps. So go up here, go to the right, and then do a loop across the platform, and then go back to the previous room. Now, on this small platform, we need to perform 14 steps. Also, you need to be careful about this event tile here, because it's going to eat up steps when you're not supposed to. So you need to do it like in front of the door, and I don't recommend walking cycles because you could get confused or whatever. So on this instance, I would count. So we need 14 steps, that means 7. If we double it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That works just fine. And now we're going to repeat those series of movements. We're going to do the exact same thing another time. 12 steps, 14 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now we can move on. And enter the chamber here, go back, and do a walking cycle around this platform. And now we are done with the mechanical portion of the void. This is what made me really question if I should be using this step manipulation, but I tried going without doing all those steps, and it just gets you a ton of encounters later. So I just said, whatever, dude, just go through with it. We're at the final dungeon. Now we're at Mirage. Here you have a healing pod. You need to avoid this like the plague because it restores your health to max. And we have to maintain the guard tank for the party. Just keep Lena, Faris and Bars on critical health to protect them from physical attacks. And there is no easy ways to set up critical health at this point. I guess you could equip a bone mail and use elixir that way. That would sell you on critical. That would be a really quick way of accomplishing that. But just be careful about using the pod. Don't use art. Now we're back on the Mirage portion. You cannot interact with any of the NPCs, they are all frozen in time, and this is mostly to teach you that Mirage exists and there is more than lends the eye, there is hidden alleys and whatnot. But the danger rate doesn't advance here, so you don't have to worry about misstepping. But now we're on the forest portion, the danger rate will advance here. Here, the area uses ghosts and steps, so encounters don't happen with a lot of frequency. And we will get an encounter right below this tree. Yep. The step road is doing just fine. Just escape from these guys. Don't need to do anything. After that battle, you want to go next to this tree over here, to the right, and then go down. And just try and hold the bushes, stay to close proximity of this portion. And you want to grab this chest for a ribbon. Ribbon is one of the strongest, if not the strongest, heavier in the game. It boosts all your stats by 5, and it also gives you a plethora of status immunities. Dancers and freelancers can equip ribbons, and ribbons pretty much make freelancers viable for a speedrun, because an untrained freelancer has atrocious stats, and the ribbon just patches up the agility and whatnot. In order chest, and here we get an encounter behind the branch, so we are looking good. We're looking great. Okay. And now, you can walk somewhat freely up to this point. There are no event tiles to consider besides the chains on the mechanical portion, but except for this part, where we do have the tree hole again, and they behave similarly to the ones on the Force of Moor, where there is 2 event tiles in front of the tree hole, so you need to be careful about that. You want to activate the cutscene there from the right of the tree, and that opens up the passage below the roots. Now we want 12 steps, so after that is done, you go to the left, go up, touch the bush, and go down, and also a couple of steps before the boss battle, and the boss triggers when you enter the passage there. So we need to change our setup now. The setup here was done with convenience in mind. It's going to last us until Halicarnassus, so it goes through 3 segments of the void. And I try really hard to minimize menuing, because usually you have a ton of job switches throughout the void, but with the setup we're going to use here, there won't be any need for that. Okay, first we need Bartz, Lena and Faris on front row, so they perform actions quicker. Kara can stay on back row. She's not going to do anything besides covering the party from physical damage and protecting the party from back attacks with a Thief job class. Now Faris will become a freelancer. You just want to press left from Knight and equip, escape, and combine. Freelancers are unique in that they have a couple free command slots. Mimics have 3, but whatever. And you can have unique command combinations that you cannot have with other job classes, because you always have the default command on the way. So we need escape to flee for encounters. Faris will be our fastest party member, and combine on the second slot to aid in boss kills. And I put combine on the second slot because whenever you interact with combine, you always had it on the free slot, so I just do it as muscle memory, because I am used to combine being on the right on the D-pad when selecting the menus. But that's that. You want to optimize Faris. It doesn't matter if she has the shield equipped or not, it won't affect any of the battles. But the setup looks fine here. You want to ensure that the kunai is set up on Faris for the agility. This may not happen if you save the ice bow from Krakow, which is why you want to discard that. And also running shoes for auto haste, stealth row for some more agility, and ribbon to further enhance our stats. And that's that for Faris. Next is Kara. You want to turn her into a Thief for back attack protection, and with a cover skill, so that she can shield other party members, but there is no need for Kara to have anything equipped, because first off, the bosses of the void hit like a truck. She won't be able to tank anything, even if we set up the bone mail, and she's just covering, so there is no need for her to take actions quicker. Next is Bart. He's going to become a red mesh, so that's up and left from Knight, and set up combine, and he's going to stay as this job class until further notice, and you want to manually set a running shoes, because if you optimize, you're going to get this garbage, and you don't need that. Specifically, Bartz doesn't want more agility, he just wants the default stats from the job class, besides the running shoes for auto haste, so this works perfect. And we set up Red Mesh for a couple reasons, for the speed tier, and to have access to the life spell, so we can revive Lena. So we set up our job class to also have Lena ready to go. And since we're already on the magic menu, you can just press down and go to Lenia, so that she can optimize her equipment, so there's no need to reshuffle her ability or job. And optimize, set up the Mithril Knife to cut down some of her agility, and the setup is working perfectly here. Mithril Knife, Coronet, Bone Mail, Running Shoes, Auto Haste, but with a lot of equipment weight. So the setup here is very carefully crafted, because you got Lena at the 29 agility and Bartz at the 30 agility. Normally, if you leave them along with run issues, that means that they would speed tie, because auto haste just doubles your agility, and due to rounding, this winds up having speed ties and whatnot. But with the equipment way that we set up on Lena, thanks to the coronet for the most part, now she will be guaranteed to be slower than Bart's always on the turn sequence, and we have a predictable turn order for all the boss battles here. So the setup here is very nicely done. I don't like complimenting myself too much, but I'm really proud of how the Void job alignment turned out. That's it. Now we can do the boss. We got Calotisteri first, Wood Sprite, whatever you want to call her. She can do 3 things. The most dangerous is Age. Age is a status element that progressively lowers your level, so we will make a Giltos weaker over time. So if Calotisteri uses Age on Lena, we will have to do corrective actions, but for the most part that is really rare, because first off she has to do Age first, that is a 1/3 chance, and then hit Lena with it, so no reason to worry. Okay, first we're going to mix Dragon Power on Lena, same deal with Bart. And Giltos, Lena should have Giltos on Memory Cursor because she's still technically dead from exit, and defend with Kara, she does nothing. Now, Calotisteri can also use a stop, but that won't hit anybody, because when you have auto haste, that makes you automatically immune to a stop, so no reason to worry about that either. If you get hit by Age, on this next round of combat, Fire is usually defense, but you would need to cast another Dragon Power to fix up Lena's levels and ensure that she can KO Calotisteri. And on Bart's turns, we're going to do a mix for setup later. We're going to combine a Maiden's Kiss with an Antidote to result in Levitate. That inflicts a float on the target, and that is just a setup for a Catastrophe later on. We need a float on at least one party member, that is enough for us to work out. And now Lena is also staying as a chemist so that she can keep pumping AP onto the mix command. She is just starting out as a chemist. We'll need a few. It will take a few ways for her to learn the command, but all the bosses in the Void give an insane amount of AP, so she will barely learn that on Catastrophe, I think? Something. Okay, after defeating Calotisteri, we take 8 steps, so go to the left, align yourself with the passage, and now we can venture further in the Void for the K portion. Some dangerous enemies here, like Grey Dragons, you need to run away from those. But the Step Bro doesn't get encounters here, so remember to use Escape with Faris, she has that set up on Freelancer. Here we take 6 steps, and just go besides the waterfall, go back to refresh the danger rate, and we don't have any encounters happening. Here we enter this cave to refresh the danger rate once again, and now we can drop from the waterfall here. Also say hi to Omega. This is a little shortcut we can use, and enter this cave. And here you have the final save point of the game. You don't get any more safety saves until the final boss, so there is a lot of stake here. You will be under pressure, but don't worry about it. Just safety save, you need to enter in this room. We have to be 121 at all steps.